What up, y'all? My name is Jade Fox, and I have no idea what channel this is going to go on, but welcome to this particular audience. Today, we're going to be getting into some blackity black, blackity black, some black content. I'm talking P-Valley. I'm talking RuPaul's Drag Race. And I say black in regards to RuPaul's Drag Race because, really just rooting for everyone that's black, especially over there. We're also going to briefly get into Beyonce's album because I was a little late to the game. I really wanted to take my time with the album, and I feel like I finally have listened to it enough where I have my favorites and I have like some comments as well. And really, this is just like a come together. So get you a drink, roll you something if you need to, put your baby to sleep, give him a shot glass full of Benadryl, and let's get into her. So let's start with P-Valley. Season 2, episode 8, it's called The Death Drop, which is such a great, I don't know if that's a pun because of the literal death and gay shit that was going on in this episode. But I also want to mention really quickly, because I know I haven't like done any coverage or anything about P-Valley, but P-Valley is one of my top 5 shows right now. It's an amazing program. Any white gay that I come across, I tell them to watch P-Valley. Y'all need to get into this queer blackness and what it looks like. And no, it's not PC, but it's also just a part of our culture. And this isn't really a place for you to criticize. It's more of you to understand where we come from. Not all of us, obviously. So if you're a white gay and you're watching this, please watch P-Valley. Just do me the favor of, just watching this show, watching this program. But let's get into, so this episode was dark. Okay, Russian Roulette, who's a new character on the scene, played by Gail Bean. Let me tell you, you need to give this woman all her awards. Because when I think of P-Valley, when I'm thinking of like the characters that are giving outstanding performances, Uncle Clifford, Lil Murda, and Russian Roulette pop up in my mind. Mercedes as well. But those 3 characters in particular just bring a certain level of like authenticity and depth that is so integral to the characters that they're playing. And maybe that's why I'm seeing, them flex their like acting skills a little bit. Not more, just in a way where I feel very like connected and I feel like they just have very poignant performances. And with this episode dealing with darkness in the way that it does, you see death on death on death. Okay, Lil Teak, Big Teak. What, Big Teak or Lil Teak? The funeral for Big Teak is coming up, and so Lil Murda's having conversations with Wody. And Wody, I didn't know that he was a mortician. The more you know. And we come to find out through this conversation that the video of Lil Murda doing some sex work for a little bit of change, in a queer context anyway, we learned that video might still be out there even though the holder of the video is now dead. So that'll be interesting to see how that turns out. But also I'm seeing a lot of like symbolism in this episode. We start off at the beginning of the episode with Uncle Clifford dyeing and cutting Lil Murda's hair, bringing it back to black, because I think before it was like a platinum blonde, and that was for Big Teak's funeral. We also saw some symbolism with water that we saw from like the last episode coming into this episode. Uncle Clifford's mother, who's struggling with her health right now, she was like hallucinating going down to the water, who was about to just like fully walk into the water, and she said something about if you can't get to the water, bring the water to you. We saw Russian Roulette's character, kind of gallivanting in the rain with this episode too. So I think that water and color means a lot, specifically the colors like black and red, because red gets referenced a lot. And I don't know if there's a correlation between when Lil Murda was saying like, you look beautiful in red to Uncle Clifford with the red, casket. I know that the green and the red, the Gucci colors is kind of like, Is it a gang? I don't know if it's a gang. I'm gonna just say a gang. Is it a gang community? A masculine community representing these colors. And so I don't know. I'm interested to see what happens with that. But going back to the darkness thing, I don't know what Russian Roulette has been through, but what I know is when she pulled the stunt, okay, when she was basically looking after Whisper, making sure that her transaction went through the way it was supposed to, when it didn't, Russian Roulette came out with the gun slinging, put it in Homeboy's mouth, made him take all his clothes off. And honestly, a part of me was like kind of satisfied because I love seeing men, especially like really shitty men in TV and film, even though they're fictional characters. Like, I'm aware of that. But I think just like, you know, the reality of just men in power being so terrible in real life just gives me a little bit of something when I see it in like a fictional world. But to see her like emasculate this man, to see her, you know, really belittle this man in the way that he was exactly doing with Whisper, and I'm sure with a lot of other women, you know, it was really satisfying to see. But at some point though, it turned from like, yeah, get into that ass. It turned from that into, bitch, is you okay? You know what I mean? It got dark for a second, because at some point when she was like clicking that gun, and we later found out that there was one more bullet left in that chamber, so she had to do some damage, she absolutely would have. And I have no reservations about that. I'm excited to see what this character is going to be, because this is a character that's really switching shit up, especially at the Pink, because she's coming in, she's low-key coming for a Mercedes spot, not even trying to, she's just good. Her and Whisper, they're fan favorites, audience favorites. And then with Mercedes going through her shoulder injury, kind of in denial about it, not taking the time out to take care of herself, it's like, girl, you gonna hurt yourself. You gonna end up with you're going to need an MRI if you don't stop playing, bitch. She is on that pole doing her damnedest, and it's just giving rickety. rickety. Bones popping. And I don't feel like she is in the best physical health to be doing the types of stunts that she's used to doing. Okay, the Mercedes experience is giving Kia soul. I know that her ego is also bruised, because here are these two new young women at the Pink. They're popping, they're popular, they're all over the posters, they're the new fan favorites. She's also been dealing with just being a stripper. She toyed with the idea of getting out. She kind of pulled a Jay-Z, told y'all she was going into retirement, and then she came back. And so, you know, I understand what that's like. I understand what it's like to feel like maybe your season is over in something, and dealing with, you know, the ego hurting because of that, and not really knowing, you know, what's going to be on the other side. It's really, I love that show for that reason. I feel like the show does such a great job of showing exploring the depths of Blackness and the experience of Blackness, especially with Black women. That's really refreshing, because it's not corny. It's not I'm not trying to say that Insecure did a bad job of it, but what I am saying is I feel like, you know, with a lot of like black shows, this is for the blacks, you know what I mean? Like you can tell when a network puts out a show just for some Black viewers, you know what I'm saying? Like back in the 90s, I believe, I forgot what is it Fox? One of those back in the day. So basically what they would do is when ad dollars got low from the advertisers running ads on these networks shows, right? When the money got low, when the advertisers start pulling out, what they would do is launch these Black shows to then create advertising opportunities specifically for Black audiences. And then once they got their ad dollars back up, they would cancel all the Black shows. And so you can kind of tell when a show is created. I think Living Single was kind of in that cycle. However, Living Single was just a really great show. The writing was really good. The actors were really great. The chemistry was amazing. And so I don't know if the network even really planned for that show to be as, you know, popular as it was. And I don't know if people thought that show was going to like permeate Black audiences the way that it did. But I'm excited to see Black shows with Black people that are showing the true depth and authenticity and experiences beyond like being Black in corporate America or being Black and trying to start a business. It's like, these are just Black people trying to survive. These are Black people that are living. These are Black people that are experiencing trauma. We are seeing, you know, the way that trauma has manifested itself in these Black women. We are seeing the ways that spirituality is also kind of like playing into this. We're also seeing queerness and gender also pop up in these conversations too, in Blackness, which is hard to do in a way that feels like real. It's hard to do in a way that feels not gimmicky. And I feel like this show does a good job of that. And when they started like introducing the spiritual element, you know, with this character Whisper coming in, her having, you know, this divine kind of connection with spirit guides and the universe and all of this, you know, I was interested to see how they were going to do it, like how y'all were going to roll this out, because this is also taking place in the Deep South. It's funny because in the Deep South, there is a lot to say when we're talking about like spirituality, witchcraft, even. I would even go into say like what enslaved people were doing, you know, as a way to connect with their ancestors. Like there's roots there, but there's also a deep Christian, you know, root there as well. And that's what we're seeing in Mercedes' mother. Ooh, I want to punch that bitch in the face. There is something about that woman that I hate. I do not like this woman. And there's a darkness inside of her too. And we get to see her, you know, kind of like run for mayor, governor, girl, I don't know. We get to see her address her darkness, basically saying like, I had to do what I had to do to make it out so that I could be someone in the community that could help people out. We all know it's bullshit at the end of the day, and all she wants is money and to get her ego stroked. At the end of the day, we all know that to be true, but it's just interesting to see the way that all of these storylines are speaking to these themes within like Southern Black culture from different angles. Everybody touches darkness in some way. Everyone experiences darkness and has their own darkness kind of manifest itself in its own way. And what you decide to do with it shows your character. It shows what you value, you know. And I think with Russian Roulette's character, we're seeing a girl who's really just trying to get a bag, who's really trying to chase an opportunity. She's trying to make the most out of what her situation is. She's a bit of a wild child. And so I'm really interested in her character, and I really want to see how they roll her character out. Questions. Now here's where my questions come in. Why is Haley so up Andre's ass? That's one thing. I understand that like she's trying to sell the pink, and with him running for mayor and donating to his campaign, she's getting him in her good graces to eventually help her out in the long run. So I understand that point, but to this point, I do not understand why she is so fascinated with this nigga. I don't get it. I genuinely don't understand. I don't understand like what is your marriage about, bruh? Like you went home, you found out your wife was cheating on you, and honestly, I'm not saying she's right for cheating on you, but y'all's marriage wasn't really about shit anyway. Like, let's be real. You've been gone. Pandemic happened. She's a nurse. You have not been like there in the household. She's been going through it at work. She found a confidant at work. And so of course it's like, you're not feeding her emotionally. You're not feeding her physically. So it's like, what do you expect? I'm not saying that I condone it or that she should have done it. I just think that it makes sense why she did. And so Andre as a character, he just gets on my nerves, to be honest. And then we found out that he lied about his daddy, and that's a pretty big ass lie to hold. Like, your whole daddy's a murderer. And honestly, I don't understand what is so important about Andre. Like, Andre's the one character in the show where he has a storyline that I genuinely, I don't care. And my second question is Mercedes bisexual? Because we learned, you know, she created this arrangement, or no, rather she was approached with this proposal from Coach saying, hey, sugar daddy shit, what you trying to do? She was like, you know, 10K a weekend, I'm there. Or is it 20,000? Either way, bands. And then his wife got introduced to it, and then she called her personally. They were doing their thing. Seemed like Mercedes was into it, but I genuinely can't tell if Mercedes was into it versus her just getting the money. You know what I mean? So, because it kind of seemed like there was going to be like a queer element added to Mercedes' character, but I think that was less of, I don't know. Y'all let me know about that, because even though I know that the wife clearly is interested in women, it seemed like that was a shared sentiment between the two of them. But later on when they split, it does seem like it was more on the wife than on Mercedes. But going into it, it was not given that energy. And so I'm confused by that. Speaking of Mercedes, her baby is annoying the fuck out of me. She's irritating. Terica, girl, you irritating. She's 14 years old. She gets pregnant, talking about this la-di-da life that she's going to have with this baby, saying that, you know, her mama and her grandmother or whoever is going to take care of her baby for her to do all her shit. She laughing and kikiing at her phone, talking about, you know, her man gonna take care of her, knowing that they both 14 years old. It's like, girl, what do you think having a baby and being a mom is? It's not this. I guarantee you it's not this. And so later on, she gets the abortion. They drive to Jackson, and I am very confused as to what the relationship is between Terica's mother, her guardian, because Mercedes is her biological mother. I'm confused as to what that relationship is, because she's very protective of that woman. But I guess that goes to say it's like she's been taking care of her entire life. You know, Terica also grew up with this narrative that, you know, Mercedes didn't give a fuck about her, when really Mercedes just wasn't in the best spot to take care of her. But then when she tried to get her, but then she failed. And so, or not failed, but she was being blocked from doing so. Terica is getting on my nerves. But anytime there's a child in a show, they get on my nerves, because I why speak? And two more things I'm gonna touch on, because what? So there was another gang that was claiming Teek's suicide as a murder, fully made a video with the gang colors on, guns and gun sounds, okay, in the video. Lil Murda, with his DL man that just committed suicide, of course his hair is dyed black. Okay, he's in his rated R Rihanna era. Okay, hood up. And so of course he's gonna go to that person who made that video, and he's gonna want to kill you. So what my question is, because when he ran up on him, he was like, oh, I got kids, and don't do this, man. And what did you think was going to happen? You can't do no wild shit like that and expect nothing to happen for me. You can't make a video like that and not expect somebody to want to run up on you. Why are you acting so scared? Why are you buying Starburst at 12 p.m. with no gun on you, walking through back alleys and stuff? What? That blew my mind, because I was like, you can't do nothing like that and then expect people to not come for you. Like, I ain't never been in no gang, and I ain't never been in no fight, but I just feel like that's logic. At the end of this episode, I really just wanted support from Mercedes, because I feel like when, you know, what seemed to be her ex came back in town, you know, tried to offer her some comfort, and all he wanted was some butt. I'm like, bruh, I know Mercedes I know she needs real support. I feel like she's just regarded as a sexual object so often by her mom, by Terica's guardian, by literally every man she comes in contact with. And so it's like, there's nobody really holding Mercedes down for real. And I just feel like she needs like true support. She needs a true girlfriend. And so the fact that Keyshawn is dancing back at the club again, I'm hoping that means that, you know, she's going to have a friend and somebody to talk to, because damn, ain't no therapist in Chuckalisa apparently. All right, now let's get into Drag Race. I don't have a whole lot to say about Drag Race, because I'm not gonna hold you. This season was like a little dry. Like at the beginning, it was great. And then it got a little dry, especially like those middle episodes, because everyone's good and every episode is just one challenge. And everyone has the same challenge. And so you're just like watching 8 people do the same thing in different ways, essentially. Like Snatch Game was a good episode. The first 2 episodes of Drag Race are good episodes. The last 2 episodes of Drag Race were great episodes. And so, but I just found like a few in the middle to be kind of like boring, because it's like, that being said, although I understand that Jinx Monsoon had the best overall game, the fact that you played in All Our Faces and let Monet do what the fuck she had to do on that stage with that lipstick, with that duck walk, bitch. Wait, first of all, even though she didn't win, Monet had the most iconic moments on this season. I would say Monet, Raja, Jinx's Snatch Game was also pretty bomb. Those are like the 3 highlights for me. I'm not mad that Raja won the 50K, even though I thought that Evie's stunt was like brilliant, because you always see like a wig underneath a wig. You don't never see a wig cap and then another wig. And so Evie, you absolutely did that. That was very original and I appreciated that. And even though I'm not mad at Raja winning, I just wanted that stunt to be truly appreciated for all that it was. And Monet, girl, you may not have won the battle, but you will win the fucking war, sis. Because that lip sync was everything. You ate. The lip sync where it was just like a monologue the entire time, Monet, you ate that shit too. And so honestly, round of applause for Monet X Change. Also round of applause for Shea Coulee, her performance, the last episode when they had to like perform an original. Honestly, I don't really care for a lot of drag queens original music. I really appreciated Shea's song. It sounded like an actual song that you would hear on the radio, and I thought the performance was like very polished. Like Shea Coulee is gonna give you polished every single time. I feel like Shea Coulee has Beyonce energy in that everything she does is extremely well executed. It's extremely thought out. It's perfect. Everything is exactly where it needs to be. And I think where Shea suffers is just in the competition setting. I think if you had literally Shea Coulee in any other setting, she would dominate, you know? And I would really love to see both Shea Coulee, Monet X Change, Jada Essence Hall. I would also love to see Raja. I would love to see like those queens, Evie Oddly, in another arena, because I think that the drag race, you know, competitions, the drag race mini challenges and things like that can get a little redundant. And if you just study up, you can kind of learn it. But I'm interested to see what these queens do outside of Drag Race. It's really amazing that there's so many more Black queens on this program. I know that white gays eat up Jinx Monsoon, and don't get me wrong, Jinx Monsoon is so talented, such a talented queen. So much so that bitch could work until she's 80 and still be good. Like, she gives me Betty White. Like, she's just gonna get better with time. But I feel the same way about like Monet X Change. I feel the same way about Shea Coulee and all these other queens. And so I just want, I guess, a platform where I can just see them do what they do and excel. All right, let's get into Renaissance real quick. So I have been getting into the album, and I made the mistake of listening to it in my car first. In my opinion, this is not one of those albums that you listen to in the car first. This is one of those albums that you listen to with headphones. You read along the lyrics as you're listening to the song. This isn't a shallow album. Like, this album means something to queer people. This album means something to women and femmes. And I think this album means something different than, I think it's a different message than what we've seen from Beyonce. I feel like we've been getting a lot of like socially conscious Beyonce, which has been really, you know, refreshing as well, because she does it in a way that's still entertaining. I feel like the main drum of this album is really pushing freedom, but freedom internally, like freedom to be in your confidence, the freedom and the agency to be as colorful as you are, and the freedom to exist regardless of what's going on in the world. Because I think that we feel, especially with a lot of the legislation that has been passed in the last few months, years, honestly, you know, we feel limited in who we are based off of what the government and the world at large says or even allowed to do, or who we're allowed to be. And I think that this album it's very much like eyes closed, middle of the dance floor, sweating your tits off, you know, dancing in sticky Hennessy floors, just in your moment, in your head. You feel like you're in a fucking movie. It's spring break and you're 36. Like, that's the energy that this album gives. And it feels deeply personal, but it feels personal in a way of like, this album is for you in whatever way that you need it, rather than every other Beyonce album where it feels like this is for Black women. This is for hurt women. This is for, you know, empowered women. This is for Black people. This album feels like it's for everyone, and you can interpret it in the way that makes you feel the most empowered, which is honestly something you don't get in music a lot nowadays. And honestly, one thing I thought about, if this album is being played in the white gay clubs, I might just think about going, Because y'all know, I feel like I don't have to explain this to y'all. Y'all know that, they let us know if this is for the black gays or the white gays or the brown gays based off of the music that they play. And they will absolutely put it on that list. They're going to say, we're going to play techno. We're going to get into electro. We're going to get into electronic. We're going to get into dubstep, pop, 80s. It's like, ain't no niggas going to that. Come on now. You know that. And this album, because it doesn't have such a specific audience for it, I'm not gonna go. And that is all the black things that we're going to be getting into today. But some other honorable mentions to get into: Steve Lacy's new album, Flo Millie's new album. August is the most boring month of the year, and aside from Leo season, there's really nothing else to look forward to. And so the fact that we have just all of this crispy black content to get into, this crispy black media to get into, I'm very excited about it. My heart is very full. My soul is very full. My birthday is also August 8th. And so I think I'm just like, the Lion's Gate or some shit, some new moons in the mix got me feeling real good. But I will see y'all very soon in another one. Bye.